Evening to everybody, please.
Good evening.
Hello, Professor Iyer. Anu bhai.
Hi, Jayanti.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening. Good evening.
Jayanti, don't share the screen. Yeah.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone. I would like to extend my heartiest welcome to our guest speaker, Professor P.N.N. Iyer, and to all our guests and friends from Chembur, Vashi, Thane, Kolkata, Delhi, Safdarjung, DLF, Chennai, NMC, as well as our guests from head office. On behalf of Dignity Foundation Pune chapter, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you and thank you for taking time out and being here with us in this All India webinar today. The topic for today is Indians the First Choice, Wow, by Professor Iyer, who is an internationally renowned economist and teacher. It would be interesting to know from him why Indians are the first choice all over the world for employment. I would like to inform you that a recorded version will be available to all of us after the talk. I request all of you to remain muted all through the talk, and please use chat box for your conversation, comments, and questions. All your questions will be taken by the guest speaker at the end of the talk. Thank you very much. Over to you, Jayanti ji. Sorry, can't hear you, Jayanti. Mute, you are mute. You are on mute. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening to all. I welcome all the members present here today in large number. I also welcome Sujay for all the help for organizing this session. I have great pleasure in inviting Dr. P.N.N. Iyer, an economist, served the corporate sector for 30 years, has traveled on business to America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Mental in 34 international collaboration, is now an MBA professor and corporate mentor for about 20 years. He is a musician, humorist, and a polyglot who speaks 9 languages. I am thankful to him for accepting our invitation today for the talk on India, the First Choice. Wow. Professor Iyer, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you all very, very much for a very warm welcome. I first want to know whether I'm reasonably audible or am I too loud that you end up getting a headache in another 15 minutes? Am I reasonably audible?
Yes, sir.
Right. The second thing I want to tell you is that feel free to interrupt me at any time during my talk. I know this is not a normal practice with Dignity, because I don't want this to become a monologue. I want this to be a dialogue. Feel free to disagree, feel free to criticize. I guarantee that I am unoffendable. And I would welcome views from the wise and the nice people who all chose to become members of Dignity Foundation. with that resolve and with that request, I'd like to proceed. My talk today would be between 35 to 45 minutes, depending upon the level of participation by the members. Right. You know, when we talk about India in very, very general terms, we talk about India being an ancient civilization, Takshila in 723 BC, in a place between the then undivided India, between Rawalpindi and Islamabad. It is the only country in the world after which an ocean is named. There is no other ocean in this world which is named after a country. That makes an ocean of a difference. And we talk about India being still called a subcontinent, although during our independence, we were split three ways into East Pakistan, West Pakistan, and India. But we are still known as a subcontinent. It is the only country in the world which has three forms of classical music: Carnatic music, Hindustani music, and Robindra Sangeet. If you go beyond Turkey, in the Western world, they just have one single classical music, period. Whether it is Beethoven, whether it's Tchaikovsky, whether it is whoever, whether it is Bach, or whether it is anybody. 8 forms of classical dance. If you go to the so-called Western world, all that they have is one ballet. There is nothing classical about anything else. Everything else become folk dances or whatever, salsa dancing or whatever. In our country, starting from the bottom of the country, Kerala gives you Kathakali and Mohiniyattam. Karnataka gives you Yakshagana. Tamil Nadu gives you Bharatanatyam. Andhra Pradesh, original one, gives you Kuchipudi. Orissa gives you Odissi. UP gives you Kathak. And the faraway Manipur gives you Manipuri. 8 forms of classical dance. There are 13 forms of painting in this country, starting from Madhubani up to Tanjavur miniature. All of them are classical forms of painting. Barring a Picasso or a Rembrandt or a Salvador Dali, we don't hear of any other schools of painting. But this is what this country of ours is made of. Temple architecture. If you go to a place called Tanjavur, there is a Brihadishwara temple, which is 206 feet high, which was constructed 1056 years ago. It has a foundation of only 5 feet. That's it. It defies all laws of civil engineering. It has survived tsunamis, earthquakes, several forms of cyclone, so on and so forth. So the temple architecture, both Hindu and Jain temple architecture, have withstood the trials of time. We know all this. We talk about Gurukul, where the Guru doesn't teach you not only for theoretical fundamentals, but he takes charge of your life. He makes a great person out of you. So the concept that if you are not a mentor, you are a tormentor, started in our country probably 10,000 years ago, when there was no script available. Diagrams used to be drawn by pouring water on the mud, and with a small stick, they would make diagrams. And students of 17 different nationalities used to be taught fundamentals of engineering. All these are known to us, and we keep talking about it. But what happened to me is something very, very different. My profession as an international collaborator gave me a lot of opportunities to travel. I hear somebody talking. Are you talking to me? As I told you, I don't want this to be a lecture. because I don't want people to feel that this lecture is a cure for insomnia. I want to encourage conversations. And this is a path-breaking thing for dignity, I know. But feel free to stop me, ask me to explain, elaborate, justify, disagree, criticize. Most welcome. No problem at all. Let us make this a healthy conversation. Now, my profession as an international collaborator, whether it is technology transfer, whether it is capital transfer, whether it is talent transfer, whether it is materials transfer, whether it is machine transfer, where they'll only give you the machine, not the technology. I went shopping all over the world. I'm very lucky. I'm among the micro minuscule of our population who traveled 66 countries, out of which 27 countries more than 25 times. And although I'm an economist by qualification and by passion, I'm also a very serious student, even today, of behavioral sciences. I look at communities, I look at societies. I keep looking for that magic formula of what they have done for their countries. Particularly countries like Israel. Israel is a wasted piece of real estate which was purchased by the Jews from adjoining countries like Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. Wasted part. And today Israel is probably the greenest in the world in terms of greenery per square kilometer. You look at Japan. What is it that their society does? If I give you a clinical information that there is a country which has 6,870 islands, a country made of islands is called an archipelago. The largest is Indonesia, which is 17,544 islands. In fact, if you look at the Indonesian map, it looks like an orthopedic disaster. हड्डियां तोड़ के चूर चूर हो गई हैं, ऐसे दिखता है. It is as if the bones have been broken into parts. If I tell you that the country with 6,878 islands has practically no mines, they have no geological assets, no forests of any significance. They suffer on an average 15 tsunamis in a year. They also suffer over 100 earthquakes in a year, which are more than 5 on the Richter scale. And that is the only country in the world which has been nuclear bombed not once, but twice. With this clinical information, if I'm going to approach you and say, would you like to invest in that country? The answer will be no way. But the moment we say Japan, the mouth starts salivating. I've studied their society very closely. I've understood them to the extent possible that I need to understand. Done several collaborations in Japan, CKTJ, that was my favorite route, China, Korea, Taiwan, Japan. Western Europe, the continent of America from Canada to Argentina. Down under, the Micronesian Islands, Australia and New Zealand. Studied them closely. Went to Scandinavia. Traveled in the original USSR, which fragmented into 15 countries on 24th of August, 1991. Wherever I went, I found that the key person in any enterprise is an Indian. I went to unheard of places in Poland. I went to P-O-D-Z, Pods. There are other places in Poland where the name does not have a vowel at all. So how to pronounce that name? And if you try very hard, you may lose a couple of your teeth. There's a big risk there. There is a place called Krakow. The spelling is C-R-K-W. Where is the vowel? So I had to ask somebody, what do you call this? What is this? And they said Krakow. The name itself says there's some bloody crack somewhere. But there also, when I went into a plant, a very complex plant in heavy engineering, a metallurgical plant, where they were making very important alloys for conveying electrons, I found that there is an Indian sitting there and a fully turbaned, fully bearded Sardarji. I'm a polyglot. I speak many Indian languages. So I went to him and said, Sat Sri Akal Ji. So the first thing he wanted to know is whether I'm an Indian or a Pakistani, because both speak Punjabi. So he said, Ji, Sat Sri Akal, tusi Pakistan de ho ki Bharat de ho? Then I told him, Menu gala na kaddo ji, Pakistani na kehna. Main Bharat da haiga. I asked him, what are you doing here? In some bloody remote part? He says, Ji, the company chose me. And they have given me a job which pays me 13 times the salary I was drawing in India. And I come from a very middle class, lower middle class family. They allowed me to bring my wife and also my children. So originally I brought everybody, but I found that there is no scope for good education.
They say that best brains are in India.
I beg your pardon, sir?
They say that best brains are in India.
Ma'am, we will come to that, whether it is only brains, because I'm very particular about my findings, my research findings. There are 10 reasons why Indians are the first choice. Wow. And none of those 10 reasons have anything to do with the classroom or the university. I don't want to contradict anybody, but many of us think that passing exams is big brains. In our community, I belong to a place called Palakkad in Kerala. We are Tamilians from Palakkad, so we are neither here nor there. Hated in Tamil Nadu, disgusted with in Kerala. In that community, if you are not IIT, IIM, or IAS, you are IAO. The entire measurement of a boy is done on the basis of his academic excellence. But why Indians are the first choice has nothing to do with academics. But wherever I went in the world, it could be a sophisticated France or an unknown country called Gambia. We have all heard of Zambia. Gambia. It's an Islamic country. All that they have is mines and forests. 95% of the population has only madrasa education. They only know the Holy Quran. I went for offering a collaboration from India on management of earth movers in mines. When I go there, I find a Malayali. He is the boss. He is the super boss of the maintenance department of the biggest, hugest earth movers in the world. It can be anything. It can be a L&T. It can be Caterpillar. It can be anybody. But the head is a Mallu, Mr. Nair. That sent me on a complete research. And my research has been going on for 10 years. It is still not complete. So like everybody does, after all, I am a PhD guide. I know primary research and secondary research and tertiary research. I started researching and I found, to my total surprise, that India is the largest exporter of white collar in the world from the year 1994. This will be the 26th year when India has been the largest exporter of white collar. When I say white collar, let me give you a quick 30 seconds differentiation. Brown collar are agricultural workers. The Mughals and the British exported a lot of agricultural workers because many of our agricultural workers were very good with sugarcane farming. Otherwise, we could not have a Shiv Narayan Chanderpal in West Indies cricket team, Ram Naresh Yadav. We could not have had a Manohar Pandey, who is the president of Fiji. All these chaps went when we were exporting agricultural labor. Then an era came when the second category of exports of humans from India started. They were the nurses and paramedical teams. Kerala has a global monopoly on nursing. You go to the remotest hospital in Brazil and say Mariamma Kuriakos, she will land up. It is a very common name. And all the people who are working in paramedical teams, particularly OTs, they're all from Kerala. Huge export. And then came a stage when everybody in the Gulf, that was the petroleum revolution. OPEC was formed in 1969. What is OPEC? It is a very dirty cartel. 53% of global supply of crude petroleum is done by the OPEC countries. And there are only two countries outside the Gulf in OPEC. One is Venezuela and the other is Indonesia. So it is completely controlled by the Gulf. From Jordan to Yemen and from Lebanon to Iran. These are the two wings. A lot of Malayalis started going to the Gulf for a very simple reason. In international business, the first international business route which was established was the spice route, which came directly to Kerala. Indian spices are the most highly rated spices in the world. You don't need a brand name. Anywhere in the world, if the departmental store says Indian spices, there will be a stampede to buy it. There are 34 countries which export spices. But the difference between number one and number two is so vast. Even Italians export spices. Koreans export spices. Nothing compared to Kerala. The kick that the black pepper can give you, we don't respect it because we get it easily. Just like we don't respect democracy because we enjoy it from day one. We take it for granted. Fundamental rights, we don't even understand. I pray to the Almighty that all of us who consider ourselves educated only because of the degrees that we hold, we travel for 1 week to a communist country and come back, 1 week to a theocratic monarchy and come back, 1 week to a dictatorship like North Korea and come back, we will then value what is democracy. So our spices are very big. The Jews came to in Kerala in 400 BC. The Christians came to Kerala around 220 AD. And the Islamic people came to Kerala around 800 AD. Prophet Muhammad was born in 570 AD. he got the revelations in 612 AD. They did not come to conquer Kerala because everybody wants spice. So the first international route that was established was the spice route. The second was the silk route. And they went to Guangzhou in China. They used to make a silk called muslin. 18 feet wide silk fabric could pass through an ordinary ring which we wear in our finger. You can imagine how many microns that fabric will be. Arabs, before petroleum was discovered in their land, their main business was supporting tourism to Makkah and Medina. And when you have to support tourism, you have to also prepare food for the tourists. In Kerala, the Arab tourists, Arab spice dealers are called Mopla, which translated in Tamil means Maplai, which means son-in-law, because they would at least have one or two wives in Kerala. They'll come here, buy and go. And Keralites were very happy to sell to them because they treated them as a family. So when the petroleum revolution took place in 1969, the first choice of getting people to do subordinate jobs was from Kerala. When I was posted in Saudi Arabia, I went as chief executive officer of an American multinational company. My wife and I, we were completely shocked because the liftman is a Keralite, Malayali. The cab driver is a Malayali. The salesman in the departmental store is a Malayali. Then I did a little bit of study. At that time, there was no Google. I did a little bit of study. I found there are more Malayalis in Saudi Arabia than in Kerala. So that set me thinking, because curiosity is one of my favorite passions. Doesn't matter which subject it is, I'm generally very curious. So I started asking everybody why there is so much of Malayali crowd here. If they want cheap labor, they can get it from Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Pantisgarh. We are full of cheap labor all over the country. But why is this Mallu fixation? And then I found that it was because of a fundamental misunderstanding. What is great about Mallus? Highest literacy, highest density of graduates in the world. Every Mallu has gone to college for knowledge. And when you are so qualified, the other state in India where qualifications are very high is Bengal. So Malayalis and Bengalis, by nature, when you are so qualified, it gives you an authority to argue on any subject. You say, good morning. What is good about the morning? The sun has risen, the flowers are in blossom. What is your contribution? It can go to any extent. It can go to any extent. But if you argue with the sheikh in the Gulf, he will put you on exit visa, which means for another 10 years, you can't even return to any country in the Gulf. So how does an argument start? No, not possible, will not work, cannot do. Surprisingly, the word for no in Malayalam is Allah. So the Mallu will say Allah, Padilla, Kollilla, Nadakilla. And the Sheikh says, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, bring another brother-in-law. That is how Mallus have multiplied like bacteria in that part of the world. And then came a very specific era where the Mallus who went there, they did extraordinarily well because they knew one thing which the Arab Sheikh does not know. They knew English. So when the sales agents used to come from America or Europe, this Mallu who has come either on a plumber visa or a barber visa or a driver visa, he can talk to them in English. So somebody comes on a driver visa, in 2 years he's become a director in the company because he provides them that link. Even today, the Sheikh is learning Malayalam for his own survival. And the Sheikh firmly believes that the Malayali accent of English is correct, the British are wrong. I've lived in Saudi. I'm telling you out of, even when I used to go and talk, I used to talk always in English. There was no problem in talking like a Mallu, because I am basically a Mallu. But brought up in Delhi, so a Malayali here and a Sardarji here. I love their lifestyle. I love their attitude to life. We South Indians have a bullshit attitude, simple living, high thinking. Look at Sardarji. He says, happy living, no thinking. Beautiful attitude. I went all over the world, and wherever I go, I find Indians, 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 as compared to any other nationality, and particularly white collar. The brown collar, agriculture, that era got over. The blue collar, people who work in shop floor as workers in factories, workers in hospitals, that era also got over. And then started a new era with a new prime minister who was not part of the first family of our country. His name is P.V. Narasimha Rao. He put into motion the process of globalization in our country. My doctorate is in globalization. I understand that topic very dearly. I am passionate about it. That is why I am a collaborator. जात से पंडित हूं, इंटरनेशनल कंपनियों की शादी कराता रहता हूं. अभी तक एक भी तलाक नहीं हुआ. I found that to be very extraordinary. In 1993, 1994, three things happened in the world together. One was computers. Second was telecom. And the third was internet, www. There is that special talent our chaps have. Anything to do with technology, our chaps could grab it very quickly. That is when, thanks to Narasimha Rao, people started recognizing, oh. But they also found that our lawyers are outstanding, our doctors are outstanding, our managers are outstanding, our engineers are great. So when I did my research, and I found that higher education is there in their countries also. There are so many people who are full of degrees. Many of them resemble thermometers. They have so many degrees. But wherever you go, I'm not talking of exceptional people like Satyam Nadella, or I'm not talking about Sundar Pichai only. I'm talking about thousands of others who have done much bigger contribution. But the media has not highlighted it. There are very eminent doctors, very eminent managers, brilliant managers, MBAs. America is full of Stanford and Harvard and Wharton. And a Harvard and a Stanford always tries to give you a complex that if you're not Harvard or Stanford, you're either backward or awkward. Then why is it that the Indian chaps are in the top of the companies? Companies like Lehman Brothers, they shut shop on 4th of October 2008 and they recruited only from Harvard and Stanford. Company बंद हो गई, कर लो बात. कौन से कद्दू पे तीर मार दिया तुमने? हमारे यहाँ कंपनी नहीं बंद होती. We have worked in European companies like Siemens, Philips, Lever Brothers, ABB. No problem. So I started studying that subject, curiosity being one of my favorite passions. I want to ask you a very basic question. Many of us are grandparents. When you look at your 5 or 6-year-old grandchild, what is the first differentiator between that grandchild and grandchildren all over the world? Can we speak? 5-6 साल का बच्चा है. Are you able to identify a differentiator? Many of your children may be abroad. So you have also traveled abroad. Even otherwise you have traveled abroad and you have seen these things happening.
Their curiosity.
I agree, sir. Can we go one step further?
They are techno-savvy, sir.
Yes, sir. But what is the big differentiator, sir?
Languages.
There you are. Who said that? A big
Even confidence also. Confidence also.
नहीं, confidence
Extraordinary.
They know many languages. Jayashree
confidence बाकी देशों के बच्चों में भी है. They are also very confident.
Not that
Sometimes
much.
they are so confident that they are arrogant.
No,
Because they
no,
know
that
their
is different
pedigree.
thing.
White
That is-
skin, blue eyes, colored hair.
Yeah, yeah. But
I'm talking about
that confidence is combined with arrogance, not intelligence.
No, the point I was making is
Yeah.
the word for overconfidence is arrogance. It is good to be confident, but if you're overconfident, you tend to be a bully.
They call themselves multitaskers.
The beauty is, sir and ma'am, you take the largest populated country in the world, China. 99.99% of China is only and only Mandarin. There are several dialects. The difference between a language and a dialect is a language has a script. A dialect has no script, like Konkani, Marwadi, Tulu, Sindhi. They have no script. Bhojpuri. So when I speak in Hindi and I tell them that UP में 17 हिंदियां हैं. In UP alone, there is a Bhojpuri, there is a Mathurai, there is an Allahabadi, there is a Gorakhpuri, and they are very far away. They are spoken languages. They are not written languages. So in China, there are dialects and dialects. By one estimate, about 800 dialects are there in China. But there is only one language, Mandarin. The second largest country in terms of population as of now. Very soon we will be the largest. Modi ji keeps saying 130 crore, 135 crore, because unke कार्यकाल में उनको पता है कि we will be the largest. We are very hardworking people. वो उनको पता है. There are 17 languages printed on the currency note itself. 45 years ago, when I first time went to United States of America, the immigration desk girl, a white, she asked me, "Oh, you're from India." And then she said, "You must be hungry." She did not ask me, "Are you hungry?" She concluded. And like an idiot, I said, No, I ate in the plane. Confirming that if I had not got onto the plane, I would still have been hungry. India was known for hunger. And then she asked me, "Do you speak Indian?" Badle ka mauka I got. There was a 10 rupee note in my pocket. I pulled it out. 45 years ago, it had 11 languages. Today it has 17. I said, "Look, these are the 11 languages. And these are Indian languages. I'm speaking to you in English because we were a colony of the British, like you were." And then she said, "Oh my God, I didn't know that." And I said, "All these are languages which have their own script. They are not dialects. 11 languages, out of which I speak 4. She said, oh my God, can I have this currency note? So I had the pleasure of donating 10 rupees to a citizen of America. उसने भीख मांगा, हमने दे दिया उसको. That gave me tremendous confidence. 45 years ago, what was India known for? Snake charmers, cows in the streets, rope trick magicians, elephants for temple worship, epidemics, natural calamity, extreme corruption. In spite of all that, 1991, the destiny of this country changed. By 1995, we had become the largest exporter of white collar because it started with a 5-year-old in India knows 3 languages, 5 or 6 years old. In school, the kid will speak in English. At home, he'll speak in the mother tongue. To the neighbors, he'll speak in the local language. And very often to the maid, he will speak in her language. Are these taught in the classrooms? No. Are these taught in the universities? No. It is an intrinsic talent. TV से सीख लिया, कानों में वो that language गूंज रही है. People have learned. I never attended any course. I speak Marwadi. When I tell people that when I speak in Marwadi, and if I tell them my name is Agarwal, Mittal, Singhal, Goyal, people accept it. Did I go to a tutor in Marwadi? No. It is an intrinsic talent which only Indians have. This diversity of languages. So wherever they go in the world, in no time they have picked up the local language. The chap goes to Germany, he speaks beautiful German in 3 months. In 6 months, he is ready to write poetry in German. I met the Sardarji in Krakow. I said, Paji, तुसी कितने साल हो गए थे? कहता जी 2 साल हो गए मैंने. तो तुसी बोल लेंदे हो पोलिश? कहता है मैं बोलदा, मैं लेक्चर करता हैगा. मैं लोकां नूं सिखाना मशीन किस तरह चलाउणा है. कमाल कर दियो तुसी. अच्छा तुहाडा जवाब नहीं जी. And that is an intrinsic talent. Just now, when the Dignity Foundation meeting started, I found people talking comfortably in Tamil. They can also speak English. They can also speak Hindi. I know many people here who were brought up in Bengal. They comfortably speak Bengali. I was brought up in Delhi, Hindi, Urdu, Marwadi, Punjabi, without mixing. Nothing great about it. It is in our DNA. The second reason why Indians do very well abroad without any help from any classroom or university is successive governments till the year 2000 or 2005, let us say. They made sure that we have the worst form of utilities. You put the switch on, light won't be there. You open the tap, there is no water. Instead, high pressure air is coming. You booked your ticket for railways, journey is cancelled. And if you find that the train is on time, you will come to know it is 24 hours late, it was due yesterday. We had a monopolistic, state-sponsored monopolistic airline called Indian Airlines. The duration of the flight is 1 hour. The delay is 7 hours. पैदल ही निकल जाते. And all Indians who have gone abroad, they have gone from lower middle class homes, fighting the problem of extremely poor utilities, extremely poor infrastructure. When they go to a country where all this is available, their efficiency is 10,000 times more. उनको पता है कि टेलीफोन उठाओ, वो चलेगा. There was a time in our country, sirs and madams, where MTNL was Mera telephone nahi lagta. BSNL was Bhagwan se nahi lagta. उसकी चौथा मनाते थे, टेलीफोन डेड पड़ा है, आज हमारा चौथा चल रहा है. उसकी 10वीं मनाते थे, उसकी 13वीं मनाते थे. राम नाम सत्य है. क्यों? टेलीफोन साला मस्त है. Fundamental requirements we never had. I was talking to the CEO of Indigo about 5 years ago. I was interviewing him. I asked him, all other airlines are bleeding in India. They are in dead loss. How is it, Dada, he's a Bengali gentleman, that you are making losses? He says, there is only one reason, Dr. Iyer. I come from a very middle class home where before my leaving my house, I have to switch off the fan, light, everything. So for me, my cost consciousness was built into me, into my DNA. It is not that we earn more money. No, we save more money. That is the reason that we have a 42% market share in the aviation market and we don't bleed. At that time, Jet Airways, Kingfisher had shut down, Deccan Airways, this airways, that, all bleeding. Indian Airlines is forever bleeding, permanently. I think they get a daily blood transfusion. This is a great quality. Frugality, how to be frugal. Which employer does not like an employee who learns the languages quickly and is extremely cost conscious and frugal? Second reason for liking Indians. Third, extremely competitive. If one kid has got 92.268%, we are going to the third place after decimal. There is another child who has got 96.269%. He's superior. He will get admission. And this chap might lose out admission by 0.001%. That is the level of competition. And that thinking is there everywhere. Everything is competitive. Sports, competitive. Elocution, competitive. Debate, competitive. Even today, when the Spell Bee contest takes place in America, all of you have noticed it is the Indian children who win. Because when you are in a spirit of competition, all your faculties, all your sensory organs are much sharper. Your memory is great. Sight, sound, smell, skin, taste, everything functions at top efficiency. Third reason, very competitive. Fourth reason, continuously reinventing oneself, irrespective of religion or region. This is a country with more than 10,000 years of scripted history, where the Munis, the saints, the sannyasis, the sages of our country, they defined astronomy. That ability to learn, that hunger to learn. I teach in foreign universities. Even when I go to a very advanced part of China, which is Hong Kong, which was under British rule, it's a struggle to make those students learn. And I teach only postgraduate and doctoral students. It's hell of a struggle. I go to Leeds Metropolitan University in UK, where students from all over the Commonwealth countries come. Hell of a job. Michigan University batches visit us. American postgraduate. Very difficult. But you go to an ordinary place in India, you teach them this much. This chap understands this much. He's like a pathologist. To a pathologist, you give only 1 drop of your blood. But the pathologist is able to write your entire physiology. इतना बोलो इतना सीख जाएंगे. That is a learning capacity which has come from the great saints. After all, we gave zero to the world. All of us are descendants of those munis and sages. Aryabhatta, Vedavyasa. That is why we have an inbuilt capacity to learn anything, not only languages. Latest technology, this chap knows it better. Latest in application of pharmacology, our chaps know it better. People who have struggled in India are excelling there. I have a cousin. He tried chartered accountancy intermediate exam 11 times. What a patience. My uncle was a big shot in United Nations. So he said, now you can never become a chartered accountant. You are a shattered accountant. I know somebody in Harvard who can get you a seat for doing an MBA in financial journalism. Please come. At that time, my uncle was perspective planning advisor in Helsinki, Finland. He went there. He came back with a gold medal. Nobody could believe it. ये मेरे घर की एग्जाम्पल है. मेरे चाचे के लड़के की बात कर रहा हूं. सगे चाचा जी, चित्तप्पा, as they say in Tamil and Malayalam. He came back with a gold medal. People were taken aback. And my theory that Indians are wow got proved yet again. Look at their ability to adapt. We live in a country where adaptation is compulsory. We are transmigrating. There are places in India where the highest temperature is minus 17 degrees centigrade. And there are places in India where the lowest temperature is 42 degrees centigrade. Go to Bikaner, Barmer, Jaisalmer. There are places in India where it has not rained for 25 years. And there are places in India where it has not stopped raining for 25 years. Every ethnicity is available in India. You take the Caucasian white, they are up there in Jammu and Kashmir and also north of Punjab. You take the Mongoloid, they are all there in the northeast. 3 slits and 2 holes. Yellow. You go to South India, there is a school of thought that below the Vindhyas, the part of India broke away from Somalia, drifted, and came and hit Asia, and that is how the Himalayas were formed. So you find Negroid people from my side. That is why we say South Indians are IAS, invisible after sunset. And we have an ability to laugh at ourselves. Nobody takes offense. It can be any terrain, any ethnicity. We have the Asian brown, we have the Afro-Americans. Everybody is here. Gora, Chitta, Kala, Pila, Neela, Gila, you name it. And our ability to get along with them is so good. Indians are known more for their get-along ability than their ability. Whereas people coming from China, they have seen only one ethnicity. China is a big exporter of industrial labor. So when they adapt so well, our Indians, their acceptance level is very high. Never complain. I was reporting to a lady 10 years younger to me who was a graduate, and she happened to be a black. I had no problems with that. I came to the conclusion, obviously she is more talented and she deserves to be where she is. And let me tell you with great pride, in 1 year, She proved to me that I'm a lot better than what I thought I was. As such, we have a very exaggerated impression about ourselves, human nature. But she could see the potential in me and said, do it. I used to tell her, look, I just cannot handle this. She said, I have more confidence in you. If you fail, I take the blame. Come on, you can do it. I used to tell her it is very technical. I'm not an engineer. She says, you know how to deal with engineers. That is important for me. You don't need to be an engineer. You should manage engineers. And what were we doing? The minimum cost of a project was $250 million. We were doing electrical projects, and I was handling global sourcing without internet. So the acceptance of people like us is very high. Last but not the least, you look at trainability of our Indians. For them, everything they will wait and say, okay, how am I going to get better? The trainability is very high. Nobody will say, I'm qualified only in this, I will do only this. No. You'll suddenly find that a chartered accountant who went as a chartered accountant qualified himself further as a certified financial accountant, CFA, is currently working as the head of manufacturing. So this ability to laterally change positions and invest the level of talent in it, phenomenal. Even today, in my inbox, I have at least 20 queries from all over the world. They only want an Indian. They don't want to recruit anybody else. Iyer, sir, we want an Indian. Very clear. I said, look, for these disciplines, there are people whom you can get from other countries. They are far more better qualified, far better facilities. They have been to much better laboratories. We want an Indian. Isn't it absolutely phenomenal? Entire Indians, by nature, we live in a state of harmony with everybody and under any terrain, any religion, you name it. We have got a Sardarji who carries several yards of cloth on his head. We've got Hindus in South India, we've got horizontal Hindus and vertical Hindus. Free to practice any religion. We've got people with a dadi but no mustache. Everybody displays and demonstrates their religious faith, but that doesn't come in the way of their converting their energy into synergy. It has never stood in the way. Their ability to bond is so great. If you look at remittances by NRIs and OICs, it is 2018 figures. I don't have 2019 figures. It is $83 billion, which is 6.2 lakh crores as per the parity of currency value at that time. And it is precious foreign exchange coming into our country. 17% of India's import bill is financed by those chaps. By one estimate, 87% of IITians are working abroad. That is something to do with educational policy, where if you give such a high level of education and don't give them...
Sir, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir. Most welcome.
Sir, see, in spite of all the advantages we have, like language proficiency, extreme poor utilities makes us adjust everywhere, then remaining harmony, then continuously reinventing ourselves, skills, everything. Why India doesn't come anywhere in the top in the Human Development Index?
I can't agree more with you, sir. Because we are not talking about Indians in India. We are talking about Indians abroad. Why India doesn't come high in Human Development Index is a separate topic on which also I'm willing to speak and I'm willing to converse with you. The parameters of HDI are completely different. I only want to say one thing to you, sir. You take all the 197 countries registered with UN and 67 other countries which are not registered with UN. The number works out to 254. Tell me which is the most difficult country in this world to rule with a democracy. China is a single party communist dictatorship from 1st of October 1949 till today. They have not had a single general election. Whereas my country has had absolutely perfect elections every 5 years. Perfect democracy. Even if you look at the oldest democracy, United States of America, it might be the oldest, but it is not the best. It is a bipolar democracy. There are only two parties. Either you have to be a Democrat or a Republican. In my country, if you go to the Election Commission website, there are 112 parties and 1,600 independents. That is the freedom of political thought. When the British left us, sir, very recently, just 72 years ago, they left us with only 18% of the population literate. 82% of our country's population was illiterate. Even after 72 years, the current population of India is 67.6%. So when we talk about Human Development Index, all these demographic parameters count. And that's a separate discussion, sir. And if you invite me through Dignity Foundation, I shall be delighted to present my report on Human Development Index. So your question is welcome, sir. It paves way for another discussion. Today, it was only a sneak preview. 17% of the world population is only in one single country. People go to Singapore and come back and say, wow, what a great country. Everything is in perfect order. Then I tell them that an IAS officer with 5 years rules over a bigger population than Singapore. I tell them jokingly, यार जितनी उनकी आबादी है उससे तो ज्यादा हमारे जेलों में बंद हैं लोग. तुम बात क्या कर रहे हो? What are you trying to tell? इतनी सी countries हैं. United Kingdom, France and Italy are all between 63 to 65 million, which is 2/3 the population of Maharashtra. And they have looted as colonizers the whole world. Sir, when I go to those countries, which I do very often, I'm not enamored by the style, the grandeur, the technology, the great buildings. I see the blood and sweat of my forefathers.
अरे नासिक का कौन देखे जिसको देख रही बॉम्बे का
सर कौन है ये लूटा. So I'll come back to that later, sir. 6.4 lakh crores they pump into our economy. And they fund 17% of our import bill in foreign exchange. Initially, they go as NRI. Then they become a person of Indian origin, that is PIO. Then they become an OIC. Then they become a foreigner. Even after becoming a foreigner, they send money for savings only to India because of one single reason, that we have got something called FCNR account, foreign currency non-resident account, where the highest interest is paid in white money. There was a time as a practicing economist, I used to keep looking at LIBOR. LIBOR is London Interbank Offer Rate. It used to be between 3 to 4%. Today it is down to 1.7%. And still the banks in my country, public sector undertaking banks in my country on an FCNRI they are comfortably paying 8.259%. And the safety of the money is so high. We are not putting the money in a speculative venture like a stock market. It is rock solid. The number 2 in NRI, in remittances, foreign remittances, is a faraway China. It is only $64 billion. Where is $83 billion and where is $64 billion? Oftentimes people come and ask me, sir, you're a globalization man. Why is it that China is able to do this? I said, we are discussing two different animals. What the camel can do, the elephant cannot do. What the elephant can do, the camel cannot do. China is a different creature. It's a communist country. There are only 2 communist countries left in the world, China and Vietnam. One, no fundamental rights. One voice of dissent against the government, you will be shot dead, full stop. Whereas in a flourishing democracy like India, we can stand on top of Qutub Minar and say, Narendra Modi is a bloody fool. Rahul Gandhi has a PhD in foolishness. It is going on every day. It is because the entire structure of fundamental rights is so well protected. We have a constitution. It's only a matter of time when uniform civil code will be coming very soon, where the only book of laws will be the Indian constitution. That becomes sacrosanct. Just imagine what a leap. Even in France, which is considered the most sophisticated country in political thought, they don't have a UCC. That is why beheading was there 2 months ago. I come to the end of my talk, whereby I say that every Indian abroad is an outstanding diplomat. While in India, he may criticize and he may be divisive. He'll say, tu Bengali hai, tu Madrasi hai, tu Punjabi hai. Like I said, Kerala is went to college for knowledge. In Tamil Nadu, it is college for knowledge. And in Punjab, it doesn't matter because nobody goes there. I have many Sardarji friends. I'm very fond of them up till 7:30 p.m. in the evening. After that, we are not friends. They used to tell me, Aiyar sir, tusi PhD, assi bhi PhD. How? Passed high school with difficulty. Their ability to laugh at themselves. Happy living, no thinking. Most industrious. Extremely devoted to their work. Completely comfortable with any other religion, ethnicity, complexion, color, build. They're happy with a 6 feet 6 inches Jat and a 4 feet 10 inches Gorkha. This is what Indians are all about. People who take pride in their diversity and not complain about it. People whose get-along ability is so strong. And that is why I said, something about Indians, wow. The first choice is Indians, wow. I thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Grateful for the opportunity to give out my views. Your feedback.
It was a wonderful talk. It was a wonderful talk. Really enjoyed. Really
Absolutely wonderful.
We
feel very proud after hearing
Yeah.
you.
Really proud
Really
of
proud.
our
India
country
so
and
much,
proud
sir.
of you
Many
also.
things we are
Quite
not knowing
proud
many
of
things.
you also because you have said
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
Thank you, Ayyar.
Sir,
Thank you.
well,
Thank you.
sir, one more,
Thank you so much.
sir, one more question, sir.
Thank you.
Please, sir.
One more question, sir.
Yes, sir.
For letting him know that we are the best.
Sir,
Sir, one more question, if you like.
yeah,
Most certainly, sir.
Indians,
Please.
the best quality.
With all the skills and qualities that an Indian has, as explained by you, even the next or the generation after that, 2-3 decades later, the next American administration is going to have more and more Indian Americans. So is it just not the Indian environment? Has it got something to do with the Indian value systems which has been taken to other countries?
I completely
ये
agree.
पूरा लेक्चर जो है ना मोदी को भेजना चाहिए.
Sir, I want to make a point. The way the westernization of the present generation is going on, I'm not very sure that we will be able to hold on to this stellar record. That will be another talk. I will request the management of Dignity Foundation. It is called What is Citizenship? What are the joys of citizenship? What kind of citizens are we producing in this country? Every father and mother, they want their child to become an engineer, doctor, lawyer. I want to ask how many of them want to make their children the best citizen? If you ask them, they will say, that is why we are putting them in expensive schools.
Best citizen.
In schools, teachers don't teach citizenship. They teach the syllabus.
Sir,
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
They only teach the syllabus, conduct a fake, useless exam, correct the papers, collect their salary.
Yes.
Do you speak German
How many
language?
of us, sir, let us put our hand on our heart and say, how many of us? That includes me. I never thought I should make my son a great citizen. Because
only by the trade name of
making of a citizen is something we have to learn from Japan and Israel. And I have done a lot of work on that. Again, very research oriented, heavy subject.
Sir, please
Do
have
you
one
speak
more
German
talk
language? Do you speak
in
German?
due course of time, sir.
So, madam, I don't speak German at all.
All right. Okay.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, when I say 9 languages, it includes only one foreign language, which is English.
All right.
Which I'm not very happy to speak in. जब मैं हिंदी में वार्तालाप करता हूँ तो केवल हिंदी शब्दों का प्रयोग करता हूँ.
I like
और
it.
जब मैं उर्दू में बयां करता हूँ तो खालिस उर्दू के अल्फाज में बोलता हूँ.
चाहे दूसरे को उर्दू आए ना आए.
पंजाबी बहुत प्यारी बोलते हो.
हाँ जी, मेरे वाइफ नो सारे पूछते हैं कि तुमने वो पटियाले के सरदार से शादी किया है जो घर में आके पगड़ी लगा देते हैं. क्लीन कट.
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत ही बढ़िया. वेरी नाइस. आपका डिक्शन बहुत बढ़िया है.
जितनी भाषाएं हैं
very nice, yes, very nice.
उसमें जोक सुनाना सब इन्वॉल्व है.
आजकल के बच्चे
आजकल
के बच्चे सर
अय्यर साहब फिर मिलेंगे.
महाभारत रामायण they don't know about Mahabharata Ramayana because they don't teach Indian culture in their schools, you know.
Sir,
they're all westernized, so much of westernization going on.
Sir, Patki sir, with due respect to everybody, आप मेरी पिटाई मत प्लान करिए, please. Don't plan bashing me.
अय्यर साहब फिर मिलेंगे.
सर,
फिर मिलेंगे.
मैं एक मिनट में खत्म कर केवल 1 मिनट में. The biggest problem is that people have gone into nuclear families. As long as there were joint families, grandparents used to tell Ramayana and Mahabharata, keeping the children on their lap. Today the value system has changed. मियाँ बीवी दोनों पैसे कलेक्शन में गए हुए, बच्चे को नैनी के पास छोड़ा या क्रश में छोड़ा हुआ है. तो आगे जो generation आ रही है, what are we going to do with those kids? And they are watching television, which is American television, and they are playing video games.
Yeah, correct.
They don't even. How many of us teach our 8-year-old granddaughter how to sit while wearing a skirt? Fundamental question. जब स्कर्ट पहन लिया तो कैसे बैठना है? क्या हम सिखाते हैं? नहीं. In front of grandparents, they'll be sitting in a manner which is extremely embarrassing.
Yes, that's true.
हमारे जनरेशन में हम अपने फादर के सामने बैठते ही नहीं थे till he told कि बैठो बेटा. आदर सम्मान होता था. Any elderly visitor coming to our house, we all had to be in full sleeved, full trouser, full pajama. And I'm talking about boys. तो girls का क्या हाल होगा? That is our Sanskriti. That is our tradition. That is our wealth. The whole thing has gone into a gutter. Because
Sir, I would like to say this.
I'm saying that all people in nuclear families should import their parents back if they want to see their children growing up with good values. Thank you all very much.
Very good, very good. जैसे लोग थोड़े से हो जाए तो सुधार हो जाए.
Given us
अय्यर साहब फिर मिलेंगे. अय्यर साहब फिर मिलेंगे.
Meet my wife, Sheila.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Namaskar.
This is my wife,
Namaskaram.
Sheila.
Namaskaram.
Namaskar, madam. Namaskar.
If I don't leave now, Kiran Mahakale will get after
Just
me.
for 1 minute.
Loaded gun के साथ मेरे पीछे भागेगा.
Please be there.
और मैं इतना जल्दी मरना नहीं चाहता. गोपाल अवस्थी साहब नमस्कार.
Please give vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Very
for nice
humorous.
lecture.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Madhu madam for a nice.
Professor Iyer, I would like to say your talk has been inspiring and you have given us faith in our own self.
Yeah, Jayashree ji, please speak. You are on mute.
Hello.
Unmute yourself, please.
Sir,
Jayashree.
you say you have given such a wonderful thing which you can never expect, and
Professor Iyer, I would like to say.
I am Rajappan here.
Hello, sir.
Very, very informative, and most of the things which normally be.
No.
Sir.
पूजा कोई नहीं आया.
Hello, Jayashree Pancholi. Can you please give a vote of thanks? Jayashree Pancholi ji, are you there in a meeting? Hello.
Yes, she is there, sir. Ask her to
Yes,
unmute.
she's here, but she's on mute.
She is on mute.
She's not able to unmute it.
Please unmute.
Thank you very much, sir. Very nice speech.
Jayashree, please unmute and speak. Yeah.
Can I speak now?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Hello, friends. I am Jayashree Pancholi from Kalyani Nagar, Pune. It's really honor to me to give vote of thanks for Professor Iyer. Sir, your flawless, inspiring speech made us spellbound. Your speech was so interesting that we didn't realize how time went by. You are our Arnab Goswami and Chandrakul sister to encourage Indians. Moreover, Mr. and Mrs. Iyer are also good classical singer also. In future, we may get chance to listen them. Sorry. And many thanks to Sujoy, who arranged this program for us. Really, he is also a very nice person, and he will be the star of the DF. And sir, thanks a lot for giving us a valuable time and thought to us. Moreover, you said that we Indians are good, get along everyone, accept the situation. So now make speech that all Indians should be courageous. We should come from all these problems. So Professor Iyer, do come again and give us some lectures. Thank you so much.
Can I make one comment? Hello.
Sir, actually, this should be listened by all young generation also. Very, very informative and interesting and important also.
Hello, hello.
Thank you,
Hello.
everyone. Yeah.
ATM कर ही दे दो.
Hello. Can you make one comment, please? Hello.
Yeah, thank you, Jayashree ji. Thank you so much, dear friends. Right now, the session will be end right now. So with the head office permission,